Hey, what's happening? Ward Wrestling Live, Wrestling Nation. We're back. Another amazing wrestling mind in our country. We've got Coach Joey Schreiber and official referee, whatever umpire, whatever you want him to be, on the other side. He does it all. He's a high school ref in Maine. He's a women's wrestling coach in Maine. He's a freestyle and Greco United States wrestling official. So at the large level, and he's here today with us. So what's up, Coach Schreiber? How are you, buddy? Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, hey, Dan. Thanks for having me on. It's this really unique opportunity. I'm really pumped about it, to be honest. It's cool.
Yeah, man, it's been definitely the experience of a lifetime for me, and I'm getting to learn a bunch. And like I tell people, whenever my wife gives my kids permission again to be out in public, then
oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
I can't wait to see.
Been a little tricky like that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see wrestling through my new eyes. I tell people, I've learned a lot.
Yeah, right, no doubt.
But it's been fun. So, I mean, before we get into anything, of course, the big elephant in the room, this pandemic. How is it affected you guys up in the Northeast? Your wrestlers officiating. Has there been any at all?
In the north, at least, I see, like my geographic location has been, I'm way up in the Northeast. I'm in Maine. We have a large state and a small population, and most people are really spread out. So, at least our situation compared to the rest of the country has been a little different because we've been able to contain it a little easier, just based on things we have no control over, such an amount of space between most people, really, if that makes any sense. Like we don't have hundreds of thousands of people in one area, you know what I mean? The biggest city we have has like 80 or 90,000 people at the most, and the next one down from it's 50, 40, 30, and it gets pretty small from there. As you get down to Massachusetts and things like that, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, it starts to become a little bit more of an issue. As far as how it's affecting the wrestling up here, we really don't know yet, to be honest with you. Like, we haven't really had any, at least on the school level. There's been no laid out scenario about how winter sports is going to go yet. In the school capacity. On the club capacity, lots of people are practicing in small groups, and they're taking precaution, taking temperatures and things like that, encouraging people. If there's any sign of sickness in the room, or if somebody comes in there, has a little sniffle, they get out there and they're not allowed in, stuff like that. So it's been a little bit, it's trickier now, obviously, but it seems that the groups are smaller. The kids are, at least according to some of the guys I'm talking with, the kids are a little more hardcore. You're not really getting some of those beginner groups. You're really getting more dedicated kids that are really like, look, I don't care. I'm going to wrestle. And if that means I can only hang out with one other person for between now and me and my wrestling partner between now until this is over, fine. That's kind of what they're doing. They're kind of keeping it, even the club coaches are keeping it pretty close to the chest in terms of who they're letting in the room right now.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to officiate yet on the other side of this? I know I turned on the Renos for a little bit in between shows because it came up that they were live, and I could see some new adjustments from the refs. You could see adjustments around the mats, with masks, refs with masks.
I suppose, that's going to be a definite legit thing. I think going forward, at all levels of wrestling, we're going to have some sort of face protection. In the Flow event they had the other night, they had the referee. That wasn't Flow, probably. It was just a solution for the time being was the plastic face mask thing. I'm sure that it's going to evolve to like other. I mean, I don't know. That could evolve to other things, like which a regular face mask may work. But I think that's a part of our future for a while, is some sort of barrier. But because as a referee, you are in contact with. So a kid wrestles the tournament and he wrestles 8 matches. He wrestles 8 other kids, right? As a referee, you referee, depending on the tournament, depending on what it is, or who knows, you could see 100 kids in a day. You know what I mean? So you're in contact with a lot of different people, and we're going to have to do something to kind of protect ourselves. For me right now, I haven't done any officiating since the pandemic started. I just have some, I have a family, things like that. And, my mom and things like that are in the age range and the risk area, stuff like that. So we're trying, my family and I, we're trying to, be very sensible about how we're dealing with this. We're not like being ultra paranoid by not seeing anybody in our family or stuff like that, but we are going to the store with a mask on and things like that, just trying to do what we can to be conscious of what's going on without being too crazy and not ever leaving the house. But yeah, for me, I haven't gotten into I want to see how things kind of shake out first and things like that before I get going again.
Yeah, it makes sense. Keep yourself. So I don't know. Yeah, those big plastic masks. I mean, I guess the UFC before this whole thing, their refs used to always wear those black gloves already and everything. So some minor adjustments. I'm sure, you're not used to anything that's new. So it's something that, and I think
especially like this is kind of restricting, you know what I mean? Things like that. It's a little bit invasive to your own personal space, I suppose, and being forced to wear something over your mouth and nose, which isn't like super desirable. I don't really personally enjoy it that much. I actually don't like it at all. But it's going to be a part of our future, I think. I mean, I'd like other guys would have better answers, like in terms of what that's going to be like. But I see it being a thing for us because of the amount of contact we have with other people.
That's awesome. So, let's get into, first of all, tell us a little bit about who Joey Schreiber is and how you got into women's wrestling and then obviously officiating and we can go from there. But, initially, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into wrestling and then from there.
Sure. Well, I'm 36. I'm from Maine. I'm married. I have two awesome kids, and my wife and I've been together for about 15 years. My son's 9, and my daughter's 5. My son's name is Kale, after the real hero of America. Right. And my daughter's name's Adelaide, with a D on the end. So she wasn't named after Adeline Gray, but it was a little bit of a combo just because it was when she was born, Adelaide was kind of getting big. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled on obviously in the high school scene. And then I did a lot of, what was available to me for freestyle and Greco events and practices. So I wrestled, more or less all year long. And I had some great coaches that, went out of their way to get us a bunch of exposure and help us, through the USA wrestling circuit and things like that. And the one I suppose as a wrestler and how this really made a real imprint on me was my senior year. I got a chance to go to Fargo, and I didn't do that bad. I didn't place, but I didn't do that bad. I had a winning record in the freestyle, and but the scene made a huge impression on me. How the referees acted, how the wrestling, just all the elements of the event, and just how massive it was, but how professionally it was done, and just the aura, the feeling I got of how seriously the referees took it, how professional they were, just all the little processes that go with being at a major national tournament. It just really stuck with me big time. And so, I graduated high school, went to Fargo, and then I shipped out to the military and did some time there. And I served in Iraq, Mosul, Iraq from March 2004 to March 2005. And then kind of when I got back there, I went through, I think, what a lot of soldiers go through, you know what I mean? You return home from a combat zone, and it can go a couple ways. It can go really good. It can go really bad. It can go middle of the road. And I think for me, I kind of went middle of the road, and I had to kind of get settled and kind of reestablish some rhythm back into civilian life, because and it took a little while there. But I guess what brought me back to wrestling was Cale Sanderson started wrestling in 2011 again, right? Went to the World Championships in 11, and I just remember hearing about that, and because I hadn't followed wrestling from 2006 to 2010. I just was out of it completely. I was just in another zone, and so Cale going back got my attention, so I followed that, and then I watched the World Championships, through the through whatever channel avenue I could back then, I forget. And I remember watching the referees, and I'm watching the wrestling, and I'm like, damn, it'd be awesome to be a referee. I'm like, but I could do that. I could do that. I'm like, I could do that. I think I could do that. And so I started to get into refereeing at a very low level, youth and things like that. And then one day we kind of built a team, not a big team, just we grabbed a couple dudes and brought them down to Northeast Regionals for the first time in a while. I guess it was I think it was back 2011 or 12. We did that, maybe 13. I can't remember. But that made another impression on me. I was like, oh man, I'm watching. There I am again, watching the referees, seeing younger guys out there my age doing it, banging it out, and I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I think I can do that. I want to do that. I want to have a place in this thing. I don't know how or what, but I'm gonna do that. And then it kind of just snowballed from there, and that's when the women started to the women's wrestling kind of thing kind of came on, because if am I running on too long? Am I running on too long here?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. That's how kind of the interest in refereeing kind of ended up intertwining with the coaching of the girls, because I went out, so that the following year, after my first year to Northeast Regionals, following the 2011 World Championships, we brought a little group down there, and in the following year, I said, okay, I'm going to referee there, and so I got my little M3 license. I went down to Northeast Regionals. I refereed, had a blast. You know what I mean? I got to work with Sam Julian, who's now an Olympic referee, and done the last 3 World Championships. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that's where he was headed. I had no idea about anybody. And so I just jumped in there, had a blast. And then our state director's like, oh, gee, I want to go to Fargo. I'm like, hey, get one kid to go to Fargo. I'll go. I'll pay my whole way. Let's do it. So we ended up getting a little crew of 3 guys, right? Got 3 guys to go from Maine. Right, Peter Delgallo, who got 3rd last year at NCAA's, and on Division III NCAA's, and Cody Craig and Dagan Barani. I'll never forget those 3 guys. And we went out to Fargo, had my first Fargo as a referee. Freaking had a blast. I was living the dream, and I just as you kind of go. You feel like you're refereeing at such a high level wrestling, and you are for what you're used to, especially for what I'm used to back in Maine. It's not quite the wrestling here around here is not nearly as competitive as pretty much any tournament you can go to outside of New England. But that's not a diss against the Maine kids. It's just in general, there is a handful of Maine kids who can compete anywhere in the country. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just the nature of the business when you have a low population. You know what I mean? There's less people to pick from. So for every little step that I took as a referee, from M3 to M2 to M1C to M1, I'm like every level I get, I'm like, oh my God, no, this is reffing. And then you get to the 1C, you're like, oh no, this is really reffing, okay, right? And then you get to your 1, you're like, all right, now for real, this is really it. I swear to God, right? And then you get through all that, and then you get to this point where it's time for your international license, right? And then that is then you're like, all right, I'm really there. And then you kind of you get to the bottom of that ladder, and you're actually like, oh my God, I'm actually just starting roughing. I'm just starting, because all of what I just did was middle, all the way up to 8th grade level. And then from there it was, oh, I'm sorry, timeout real quick. Hey Mom, I'll take that. Sorry, I'm on the call. It's okay. I love you. I'll run it all back to you. Okay. Yep. Thank you. And from there, so you get your international license, and all these things are in front of you, and you're like, oh my God, it's just a grand experience, to be honest.
That's awesome. And now you do it at the U.S. I mean, you're at a national level now, and I mean, first of all, cool story, great story, awesome story. Congratulations, you're still growing. But man, how do you handle all that? The officiating, the coaching, uh, being a coach at a national level, having to travel, and then you mentioned you have kids at home and a wife and a mom.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's an interesting story too, and what kind of happened with the girls and things was how that kind of started for us was I was refereeing around, you know what I mean? I went to Fargo and I saw the girls division and I was blown away by it. I'm like, wow, that's legit. That's like awesome. So the following year, headed into wrestling, I'm seeing a lot of girls kicking around on these teams. And one of which was like, I say one of which, there's a bunch of them. I mean, there was Emily, who I really started with, and then there was Sophia and Zoe and Hannah and everybody. But I saw Zoe wrestling. I'm like, this kid's a racehorse. This kid is like a thoroughbred racehorse. This kid, she's a friggin' animal, right? So I'm like, I got to build a team around her. And then there was another girl, Hannah Workman, out of Lincoln, and then Sophia from Howland, who ended up graduating from Campbellsville recently and got accepted to Duke. I mean, just incredible, really. And all of that came through women's wrestling. But so we just decided, okay, I'm like, I just started recruiting them. I'm going around to schools, see a girl on a team. Hey, talk to her parents, talk to her, get her number, bang, start having practices, start forming teams. And then it just kind of like, hey, like, then Body Bar was on our lap. You know what I mean? Like, hey, are we gonna do this? Or are we gonna do this? Are we effing around? Or are we wrestling? Right? So right. We were like, no, we're packing up, we're going, right? We're freaking going, don't care. So we go, and then we had a national champ as a schoolgirl. We had 2 All-Americans, Samantha Frank and Sophia Carson, both All-American at Body Bar. And in pretty much at every national tournament except for 2, we had All-Americans. And there was one year where I took some girls from Massachusetts also on our main team, and we didn't have any main girls All-American, but Marisol, double All-American, who she just took a scholarship to Lehigh. I mean, like, she's trained with other people and things like that. I'm not taking credit for her. I'm just saying that she participated in a little bit on some of our stuff. We just had a good chance to take us an opportunity that did not seem likely to make it a legit thing. Like, now Maine girls wrestling has their own sanctioned tournament. And I think that honestly, and I'm not trying to like, all the credit is not unto me. Like, believe me, because the family's committed, the coaches, like the state director committed, coaches around me committed, the kids committed, and it was a small group effort, but it ended up having a ripple effect that was very positive and honestly unexpected. Yeah. But it's been really good, really, really good. But as far as like handling it all, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, so now as far as doing your coaching and your officiating, then sometimes do you take the kids with you? Does mama come with you? Your wife? Do they stay home? Do you tend to travel on your own? How do you juggle all that?
That's one thing can sort of circumvent the other sometimes, like, with the family and things like that. Like, it's hard to bring your family with two young children to Northeast regionals, right? Like, it's not really that fun for them. Like, my kids don't really wrestle. My son doesn't wrestle. He's a great swimmer. He's a hammer swimmer, like, just unbelievable. And, so we try to support him on that. It's hard, because I'm the one who's away. My wife's at home taking care of the kids, right? I'm in a different time zone a lot of the time, so I don't really get to always have the conversations I'd like to have. And sometimes coaching at a high level and reffing at a high level can circumvent the other a little bit in terms of your own personal gain. Because, like, if you're coaching at Body Bar, you can't ref at Body Bar, and Body Bar is a great opportunity for referees to jump a level. In terms of their experience, things like so. Those are some of the challenges I face. Not I face, but anybody that may coach or referee may face when you're doing both the same thing at the same time. However, the personal sacrifice is outweighed by the overall gain for the sport and the kids. You know what I mean? So you follow.
Yeah,
like,
my
if I gain a little less experience reffing.
Yeah, my son's head coach is a ref. He's been a ref since like 1970, whatever, right? And there's times where there's not a tournament on the schedule, but a tournament pops up, and he'll be like, "Hey, let me know if we're going or not, because I can't ref it if we're there."
Right.
So
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Oh, that's the
yeah, so
thing
he's
for
like, "I got to
parents.
call him and tell him if we're going. Let me know." Because what he
Right.
tries to do is
Yeah.
schedule his during the season. He'll schedule his reffing employment around his. But if sometimes, sometimes how tournaments drop off, another tournament gets put on, and we'll ask him, and he'll say, "Well, let me know, because I got to
Right.
tell them I'm supposed to ref." So we
Those things, those things all matter. They add up. And in terms of balancing the family, like that is a balance. I mean, that's a critical balance. And I think I'm not just speaking for myself a little bit, and I don't intend to speak for other people, but I think other people can relate to being a referee at this level of wrestling. And well, in balancing a family, because it's a huge commitment. And I think if I wanted to send a message to the rest of all of the wrestling community, especially at that kind of high level, that the amount of commitment it takes when you see these guys refereeing these matches on like the finals of the Open, or even the other day on the Flow event. It takes they don't just draw your name out of a hat. Okay, like you earn it. You earn it every single step of the way. Like, it is, we are a very tight knit group of people, right? However, there is a level of competition too, where you are trying to be the best that you can be out there. And when you're afforded an opportunity to do something, you do it well with it. The great thing though about USA Wrestling is they know you better than you think you know yourself, in terms of what you're ready for, where you're going to be successful. They know that you have things to balance, and they understand if you can't be at every single major tournament of the year. But they don't, it doesn't, but that, and they're all doing it. So I guess if I had a message, if I get back to that message to the wrestling community at the high level, like the senior athletes and the junior nationals participants, and the people that are really out there fighting for big time spots, is just remember that these guys across the board sacrifice a ton to be where they're at, to be at that tournament, to do a good job. They're leaving their families behind for little to no pay, all because we know how important this sport is. And there's no referee crew in the world better set up than us. We have the best trainers, Zach Arrett, Sam Julian, Casey Gessel. I'm going to forget somebody and get kicked in the mouth right now. Tim Pearson would be, like those four guys and many others. I've made some of the do so much work behind the scenes to make sure that we all have the information that we need to be successful out there, to make sure the matches are being called right, being called fair, and things like that. So I guess if that's one thing I'd like everybody to know, that'd be one of them.
Yeah, I've got so I had Leslie Tamayo on
oh, she's amazing. Yeah, she's an incredible kid.
Yeah.
Love her.
So you know who she is, all about
Oh,
her,
yeah.
out in New Mexico, and just. But one of her big things is like, man, how do we get more women? She's trying to start. She has started to like a little group out there where she coaches younger women up into understanding reffing. How do we bring more women into our national refereeing scene, like you see in Worlds and like you see overseas?
Well, I think myself personally, it's just as simple as you saying, hey, you saying, hey, listen, freestyle wrestling? Yeah, I do. Well, let's go to regionals. They will not let you fall on your face. Trust me. Okay. Take them to states, take them here, invite them, put up situations so that way they can be successful. Be open about recruiting them. Don't make it like don't make it an afterthought. And that's what the girls want. They don't want to be an afterthought. And that's part of, I think, why our group was so successful on the, the high school, that age group level, is because, we made them a priority all of a sudden, and not just, oh, well, hey, we need to fill a spot. Are you available? You know what I mean? It's not like that. The girls wanted to feel involved, but they needed somebody will need, not always, but in most cases, many cases, it's sort of a male dominated thing. So, unless they're forward enough to just jump in there and do it, right, they're going to need an invite at some level, or not need, but just, it helps make it not such a big deal to have around.
Yeah, she said, let's get to a point where, if a woman ref shows up, don't send me to mat 27. That's the only girls mat for the whole tournament. Let me be inclusive. Let me ref elsewhere where people see. Because I think mentally,
don't make them feel so JV.
Well, yeah, but I think young girls out there that might think in their head, I want to be a ref, but then they see, well, I probably can't look. There's no, and then they put you, loud. But if they see a girl like that at center stage, you're like, well, shit, if she can do it, I can do it, right? So then they start to build that confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a huge key, is the visibility part. Like you mentioned Julia earlier in our pre-show there, and I work with a couple of my best friends or ladies officials, Robin Von Houten and Cindy Mosconi. They and those two kids, I'll tell, those two ladies have paid the price of meaning, like, they put in the work. Like, they put in so much work to be successful female officials, on not just for female wrestling, but for wrestling in general. I mean, they've been involved in the last 2 world team trials each and the final X's. They've done some pretty big stuff for themselves by proving it out there, and they're a great example for women and what can be done in this sport for real on any level. Like, there's opportunities everywhere, and they just have to, first off, you have to kind of want it, and second off, you have to get an opportunity, and someone has to believe in you somewhere. You know what I mean? And I think that I think more girls have that opportunity than they actually think. Myself,
personally. Yeah, she said she's been a little thrown off because she's not used to not living out of a suitcase. Like, she's like, I've been home for so long. I'm used to just a bag and go.
Yeah,
go.
Absolutely.
But man, yeah, she was really awesome to talk to. Matter of fact, happy birthday, Leslie.
Great personality.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday, the day before was her birthday. I hit her up, said her happy birthday. So that was cool. All right, well, you ready for my 10 questions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Did we get through everything you wanted to?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we did. Yeah. Wait, let me shout out to my kids real quick. Can I give a quick shout out to them?
No, you're not allowed. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, shoot. Oh, well, I just want to brag a little bit, about my son, I guess. Like, he's not really super into wrestling, even though he's named after Kale. But he's a very, 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 very good swimmer, to my surprise, because I cannot swim really well at all. We dumped him in the pool and a couple years ago, and the kid's just been off to the races, literally, and really super proud of him, and not just in his sports, but he's just a really big-hearted kid, and we're really proud of him. I actually dropped him off to the wrong swim practice the other day. He's supposed to be in the oh yeah, real super dad moment. He's supposed to be in the 8 to 10 group, which is the A group, and the B group's 11 to 13, and so he ended up in B group. And I guess I go pick him up, and his coach comes upstairs, and she's like, "Hey, he led his lane, I'm like, he really ought to move up." So I'm really proud of him on that. And my daughter, I think, is my wrestler. She's a really feisty little kid, and she's just a sweetheart, and really proud of her. And my wife and things, just she's really the catalyst and the backbone of the support of anything I could ever possibly do. Like, what I've done as a coach and a referee is like this big compared to what many other people have done as a coach or a referee. But from where I'm from, the location that I am in, and the state of wrestling, I guess I come from, which is just a bit smaller than the rest of the country, I suppose. Without her kind of saying, "Yeah, go ahead, do what you want," I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. So,
well, I get it, man. I get it. We a good woman behind us helps for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because that'd be a mess. But I'm ready for your questions. Let's hear.
All right, let's do it. All right. Okay. Let me make sure I read these. All right. Okay. Acadia Park or Popham Beach?
In my terms of preference,
Yep.
oh, for me, I mean, it's Popham Beach, but yes, I would probably go to Popham Beach.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm probably going to screw up everything I wrote down here. So that's
all right. It's okay. I'm going to help you out.
very helpful. All right. The whoopie pie or the blueberry pie?
Ooh. I mean, for me, I guess I'd probably go, because you can have ice cream with blueberry pie, I'm probably going to go there. Yeah. And yeah.
The Museum of Art or the State Aquarium?
State Aquarium's pretty sick.
I feel like every aquarium I've ever been to in the Northeast is dope.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so you're in New England. So Maine corn chowder or New England clam chowder?
Oh, I don't really like clams. That's my probably one downfall as a Mainer, as a Northeaster, is that.
Well, I guess corn chowder it is,
right?
right?
It have to be corn chowder.
I like it. All right. The Portland Lighthouse or the Nubble Lighthouse?
Oh, I'm pretty fond of Portland. Portland Lighthouse.
Right. There we go. All right. I guess this is a famous soda there. Moxie cherry soda or Moxie cream soda?
Well, all right. Moxie is actually associated with my hometown of Lisbon. And yes, Lisbon. And so it's I can drink Moxie any hour of the day. So I probably would take either one. I mean, you can. I'm a huge Moxie.
There's no rules to this game, so you can say push, or you can even say, "Well, they have an orange one that I like better." That's okay with me.
Well, the orange and the orange can is my preference. That is the original Moxie. And
perfect.
Just an FYI plug for Lisbon Wrestling. Lisbon Wrestling has over 100 individual state champions, and we have won the state championships over 7 times as a team. And I'm sure my coach will probably come on and correct me at some point. He was USA Wrestling the Magazine's National High School Coach of the Year in 2013 or 14, forget which.
Oh, awesome! Well, congratulations to him, your school, your town, and I can't wait to try Moxie.
Oh, you're gonna love it. I'll send you some.
All right, I'm down. Sugarloaf or White Mountain?
Oh, Sugarloaf is probably has my heartstrings there, but I like Sugarloaf. It's got it all, really. So I'm probably gonna go with Sugarloaf.
I think if you live in this country, you've heard the name, because when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's where Sugarloaf is. It's been a while since I had to take geography. All right, I'm glad I didn't put clams in this question, since we already heard that clams are out. So I went mussels or oysters.
Mussels.
I'm glad. I thought about putting clams, and now that you said that, I was like, hey, yeah, I got away with one there.
Mussels I can do.
A little bit of garlic, some toast.
Something
right?
about slurping a snot a snot looking thing out of a freaking rocky shell doesn't get me going.
I love it. Long Sands or Crescent Beach?
Crescent Beach.
Nice. And I saved this last one because it's just world famous in Maine. Are we going crab cakes or lobster rolls?
Oh, definitely. Every single time I'm opting for lobster.
Awesome. We went up to Boston. I don't know how many years ago it was, because lately every week, month seems like one day. So I'm losing time. But we went to Boston, and there was right on the harbor there was like this little place, and we went in there, and man, they toasted the bread. They put it felt like, what are those like roast beef sandwiches where they dip them in the au jus? Like a French
yeah,
dip.
I don't know what that is, but
I felt like that's
anytime someone puts that in front of me, I'm in.
Yeah, I felt like the lobster roll was like that, like a French dip. Like they just dipped it in butter, and the bread was just dripping all over you, and the
Oh,
lobster was
dude.
just sweet, and like you've never had anything like it, and you're just like, wow, no
Have you
wonder.
ever had lobster?
I've had lobster.
Oh yeah, it's pretty
I
solid,
have,
especially.
but we have the Florida lobster, which I love. I'll eat Florida lobster all day. But when you go up there, you have the Maine lobster, and it's got a sweeter kind of
Yep,
taste to it,
definitely
and
does.
it was just awesome. Yeah, I remember I sent my dad. So up there you can send lobsters to people, right? So I
Oh
sent him
yeah.
like these two big lobsters. When he got them in the mail, he was like, "The hell am I supposed to do with these things?" He figured it out.
The best, one of the best things about lobster is that you can get it like, if you position yourself right, you can get it right off the dock if you want to. You know what I mean? If you if that's what you want to do, you can buy it at the restaurant, fixed for you. You can. It's definitely a staple of Maine's economy and in the things that we do for in the summertime. And
Yeah, I grew up in South Florida, so my uncle was always out doing the lobster thing, and he used to make us lobster nachos and stuff. But my dad is down in the Florida Keys, so he tells me the same thing. He's like, "Man, you can just come down and we can walk right onto the docks and get them." But he's very strict about everything down there. They got to be the right size, or else you're going to jail. So
yeah, pretty much.
sure
They're pretty strict up here about that stuff.
Yeah, well, you
But,
want to keep it going for all the generations. You don't want people coming in and doing that. So, pretty cool. Well, hey, man, I'll let you run. Get to the family. This was super awesome, man. I'm so happy I got to meet you. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been great. Anytime you want to
hey,
come
no,
on.
it was a great opportunity. I really appreciate it. It was a great opportunity, and I mean, like, it's fun to chat about wrestling. I'm kind of like it's with my schedule I had some plans for myself this year with wrestling and reffing and stuff like that, and some girls events, and like getting my calendar wiped clean so suddenly was a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. But I'm sure with yourself and many other people, it's been a good time to kind of reconnect with your family and realize, like, wow, we as a wrestling community, like from the little kid wrestling at these big huge tournaments for youth, and all the way up to the senior level wrestler, and referee at all stages of the game. Like, you kind of do realize that we do give a lot. People do give up a lot at home, to make wrestling a thing. And honestly, this time for me personally, it's been a really good time to reconnect with this during this part of the year, anyways, where I'm really super busy. It's been nice to be a little more connected with home and things like that. So, but I am definitely looking forward to finding my footing on the new scene, however it looks, when we kind of get going again here.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I definitely I definitely can't wait for sure. But thanks a ton for this. This is great.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And you have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, brother. Awesome.
All right.